People that listen to our podcast, you know what they want to hear? They want to hear four fucking grizzly bears getting down on some bullshit. That's what they want to hear. Welcome to the Drivers Project podcast, featuring hosts Dominic Scelzi, JJ Hickle, Sam Hafertepe Jr., and myself, Daryl Turford.
The Drivers Project podcast is brought to you by Kaiser Aluminum Wheels. Be wiser, by Kaiser.
We're back with another Drivers Project podcast presented by Kaiser Wheels. And after weeks and weeks and probably over a year of begging us, we're finally allowing Kyle Larson on the show. He's joining Sam, JJ, and Dom. Kyle, how you doing?
I'm good. This is about past my bedtime, though, so had to wait on Dom, I guess, get home from work.
Yeah, hey, when you're a busy guy like me and the ugly clarinet girl calls to be on the podcast, you got to move your schedule around a little bit.
So, Kyle, we normally start the show with an update. What have you been up to the last week or so, or have you been paying attention to the NASCAR stuff at all, or?
Just a little bit, paying attention to the NASCAR. Really just the ends of the day, like the little updates. But it's kind of over my head a little bit. So I don't know. I don't really know what's going on. It doesn't have. I mean, I guess in a sense it has something to do with us because I raced for a team, but no, I think it'll all kind of take care of itself, hopefully, and hopefully whatever happens is good for the sport.
Do you think that with what's going on with the whole charter franchise thing, in 10 years, 15 years, we'll see something like this happen with high limit racing? Because obviously I know you guys have a kind of similar program. Do you think that we could run into problems like that in the future?
I mean, obviously, you hope not. And I just wouldn't foresee that because the money is way different. And I think we are way more transparent than NASCAR has been. And I think, Brad and I have the best interest of sprint car racing in mind, not, our pockets. Yeah. But I wouldn't think so. And obviously never hope that. I'm sure that's either, and maybe would have done things different along the way, but you never know what they're thinking either. But no, I think it's so much different, and yeah, it's just way smaller.
JJ, what have you been up to? Is everything going to be pretty much the same for next year? Are you getting the Morrow stuff ready to go? Are you getting your own stuff ready to go?
Yep, pretty much the same deal. Add a few races with each team. Hopefully, get close over 50, over 60 this year, and just proceed and hopefully improve on some. It's the first time since 2020, 2021 I've got the same team going into the next year, so that's exciting for me, and hoping for a good season.
Dom, obviously your year ended kind of in turmoil. What's your plans looking like? What are you guys doing right now?
I don't really know right now. I just ordered a car today. We're planning on running a handful of NARC shows, a handful of the high limit stuff and outlaw stuff that comes out, but I guess I just kind of got to figure out how we're going to do a volume of races. Kind of like what I had said a couple weeks ago, just work is kind of wild, so it's getting harder to get away. Actually, it's cool. Today I had a meeting with a motorsports sponsor, Pacific Boring. So High Limit Champions, I think main sponsor or secondary sponsor. It's cool that I'm doing business with them now. So, just really been focusing on the funding for our race car. Like, we aren't a very sponsor heavy team. Like, it's all been, off of our businesses or our partnerships in business. So really focusing to grow that. And I think I'll probably hit 45 races or so next year, but it'll kind of all depend on where we go. I know the Outlaws have been hitting me pretty hard about being a pit reporter or something, so I might have to do that. I don't know. There may be other offers on the table, but we'll have to see.
Will you be at the Vegas opener with Big Papa Daryl?
Oh, I'll be in Vegas. I won't miss Vegas.
Sam,
all month.
3 nights now.
I know. I saw that. That pretty much finished my decision, to be honest with you.
It keeps me out of the casino an extra night.
Yeah.
All we're going to do is end up in that Italian restaurant at South Point, Dom. Let's be real.
No shit.
Sam, it looks like you're coming back to defend your ASCS title. What do you have going on in your off season so far?
Just adding a couple more cars to the stable. Doing my normal deal to those cars, and then they'll be off to powder coat next week. And then, we obviously we have I don't know how this happens, but as ASCS, we have the first race on the schedule and like one of the last races of any sprint car group. So, for a series that only races 30 plus times a year, that makes for a long year for us. But, thankful to be racing at least that much. And like I say, when High Limit comes to town, we'll definitely run those. Outlaws get around here, we'll run those. You might see us sneak out to Vegas if the schedule aligns up for us. Maybe branch out to a few more, travel maybe a little bit more this year to try to run some bigger 410 shows than what we did last year. But other than that, probably much of the same. The older I get, kids get older, and it's hard to be away. So,
how about going from Volusia to Arizona? That's super awesome. I love that.
Well, they asked me my opinion on it when they did it, and I said, guys, to be honest, we're in the situation where you guys have to book races. Like, we can't turn stuff away. And I said, if your family-owned teams are willing to do that, then I think the better funded teams like mine will follow suit, because that's the guys you really need to worry about. Like, if you don't have these family-owned teams supporting it and following it, then teams like mine don't really matter. You've got to have all these other teams. So I told them, I said, if you guys can book the races, let's do it. And they did it. So, we'll be off to Arizona, and I honestly, I'm kind of happy with the track that we're going to. I think it's going to be badass. So I think the promoters are doing a hell of a job with it already. They've even got a point fund put together for the 2 weekends. So, it's definitely going into next year. It's worlds above what it was 2 years ago. So, hopefully they keep building it up and the schedules get a little bit better every year.
So, enough with us slobs. Let's talk to Kyle, Dom. I believe you had the first question you wanted to ask him.
Yeah, it's funny, when we first started this thing, you were the first person that we had talked about wanting to have on, and I think it was either me or somebody had said, dude, there's no chance this guy will ever come on our podcast. But the questions I always had is, I specifically remember where I was when I heard about Kyle Larson, and it was the perpetual trophy night at Cycleland, when you get into that slider fest with those two guys, and you slide the guy coming off 4 and win the race. And I think you're probably 11 years old. And
you were there?
No, I found it on YouTube from your mom's old Racing Wild days. Yeah. And so my mom always used to videotape mine and Gio's races, and I remember watching that and telling my dad, dude, check this out. This kid just won against all these adults, and with the last lap slider, and that was my first learning about outlaw karts. And obviously I remember a few years later you came and ran Gordon Saros' micro with us in Visalia and Lemoore, and it was obvious for a lot of people on the outside that knew you were special. But when did you know, hey, I'm pretty good at this shit?
I don't know. I mean, I think when you're a kid and you're winning races in a go-kart, you probably think you're better than you actually are. But I mean, I always feel like I didn't ever think that I could make a career out of it until maybe I was 15 or 16 or so. Once I got into the kating equipment and could actually run up front and win races, then I was all right, maybe I could just drive race cars my whole life. But yeah, prior to that, it was kind of just, you're young, right? You don't have any bills to pay. You don't it was just fun to go racing. But yeah, as I got, my driver's license, you're thinking about life. Thankfully, I started running better in the car, and that was okay, let's try and make a career out of this.
Right.
But it's funny you brought that race, because I was just going through my mom's YouTube yesterday, and I saw that one, and that was such a trophy. Remember Brad and I's trophy cup in whatever year that was, 2013? It was like a version of that. I had no reason. I did not need to win that race. That was the final point race or something. I was going to win the championship if I finished third or something, and I could sniff the lead so threw a bomb at the end and almost crashed, and yeah, could have gave the championship away. But yeah, that was crazy.
That was
What
such a badass race. Like, I mean, running sliders and then stealing people's line. It was a 3-car battle. I don't even know who the other guys were, but I always
Keith
remember.
Bloom and Sean Becker.
And it was it Sean Becker?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
What's funny, and I've told Kyle this before, and I know I've told his dad this before. Sam and I at first didn't really. I don't know if Sam did as much as me, but I didn't buy it as much as other people did. And the reason I always say that is like the first few times Sam and I raced Kyle just like we raced him at Short Track Nationals. He was driving Tony Bruce's car, and he was good, but he wasn't like battling for the win. We raced him several times, and in all those races, I'd say Kyle probably didn't run better than 5th in any of them. And Sam and I kind of didn't really see it. I don't know if I'm talking out of turn on Sam. And then you showed up at Cannonball for the All-Star Speed Week show, and it feels like we never beat you ever since. Is that your recollection of it, Sam?
Yeah, like, and honestly, Kofoid's a lot of the same for me. Like when he was in the 4SA car, like, and around that time area, it's like, all right, man, yeah, he's good, but like, like you did, like it's, and I obviously at 14 years old or whatever, I wasn't even thinking about driving a sprint car. So, you can't really compare stuff like that, but, like you would say, man, they're good, but you just didn't see it yet. And then like, it's like, suddenly it's like, it was like, honestly, both of them. But Kyle more so, just, it was like, I don't know, a maturity level set in or something like to get to the level that he's at or was at that time. And it's like once he took off, it was crazy after that, and just unbelievable, to be honest.
I mean, I kind of agree. Like I always felt the hype and like could see the hype, but in the beginning I was like, man, I don't really know why I'm getting all this hype. Like I haven't done much, I've won a handful of sprint car races at that point. But yeah, my name I feel like was bigger than it should have been, but I don't know, maybe that was just like I guess because I had Parker Store probably on my car, like my go-kart, I think, and Donnie, that's when he was beginning to kind of light the world on fire. So I think everybody looked at me like a mini Donnie Schatz in a way, just from the sponsorship side of it. But yeah, it definitely took some time for me to, win a lot at least. And I think, I don't know, it's just the combination or the experience or confidence. I'm sure it all kind of comes together and then, works out.
I remember, I think I was 15 at the time, racing at Watsonville, and I had won. It was my first year in sprint cars. I had won a couple shows, and then you came to like the season finale in Watsonville, and I don't remember what happened, but you started last in the Finley car, and I started like 6th or 7th, and I get the lead from, maybe it was Bud, off of 2, and then into 3, you slid me from last and took the lead like on lap 10, and then you won by like 45 minutes. And I remember thinking, like, what a badass I was, like, cutting through the field and like, getting to the lead. And, like, that was the first time I'd ever raced with you. And I remember Brent coming out, and he's like, that is why he's going to be special. And I'm like, fuck, I've never to this day have ever had an ass whipping like that until last week with Corey Day at Merced. But, like, fuck, I remember stuff like that thinking, you were young still. You were, like, 20 years old. And I remember you being 16 for a long time, it seemed like, when you raced in Hanford and Tulare.
I actually never lied about my age. Not
Really?
once. Yeah, never had to. No, because I was, I think before like I came in, yeah, you had to be 16. But then for whatever reason, there was like a group of us outlaw kart kids that kind of got into sprint cars at the same time and same age. And yeah, I just remember we had to be like partially emancipated or something to be able to sign our own release form or something. And yeah, they let us race. So yeah, no. I'm one of, I feel like a few guys that have never had to lie about their age, but no, it's cool hearing old stories like that because, you're always curious about like, somebody's first time they remember you and like, yeah, it's neat to hear that. But I loved Watsonville. I got to battle with Ronnie Day there quite a bit, Carlton, TK, Bud, Brant. It was fun.
I remember the Tarleton Larson feud. You guys hated each
Yeah.
other.
Yeah. I legit hated him. Like I don't like hate strong word, but I hated Tommy. And I think he was mean, like he was a bully. And I couldn't stand him, whatever. The day he retired, he turned into like the nicest person ever. And I'll never forget, it was like Vegas, and I went to go pick Colby up at the hotel, and Tommy came walking out. He's probably gonna say shitty to me or whatever. He walked over to the car, so nice. And it's been so nice ever since. So, but yeah, I trophy cup, whatever year that was. I talked a bunch of shit on the front stretch, and his whole team came out wanting to fight. He wanted to fight me another time. I'm like not even 16. He just wanted to kill me. But that was fun.
That's awesome.
So we don't want to tell your whole story because I feel like that's already been told, but we do have some questions about your early years. I, in particular, would like to know, like, I talk to your father more than I talk to you at races. Every time I see your dad, I probably talk to him for half an hour.
He loves to talk, by the way.
Yeah, I noticed. And I was just curious how instrumental he was in guiding your career in the early years, because I can tell he put a lot of thought into it. And then Dom has questions about how you landed some of your early rides. So could you just talk about either one? Dom would like to know about the Vertula ride and how you ended up in the Kading car. Is that fair, Dom?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, as far as my parents go, yeah, they were super, huge parts of my career. My dad, he took care of all my go-kart stuff, and you would work 8 to 5 p.m., come home and like straight to the garage, working on everything. My stuff never fell apart. He was the crew chief, and obviously we know crew chiefs are important. So yeah, we were strong because of that, I think. And then he also wrote all my press as a kid. My mom ran the website, all of that. So yeah, they were a big deal, and I'm super fortunate and thankful for all their hard work. And then yeah, as far as early rides, let's see, the Vertula one, I was young. I can't remember. You might probably honestly know better than I do about how it all came about. But yeah, I was obviously young and had some success in the outlaw kart stuff at the end of my kind of full-time career in that. And Dave and Debbie Vertula, they'd always given younger kids an opportunity. And I was kind of the next one for that, and ran with them for 3 years. And then went to Rico's house. Had never met Rico before, but went to his little go-kart track that they had built, and met Rich Stadelhofer there. And so Rich Stadelhofer started to sponsor us in 83V, and then that turned into him kind of upgrading us to Kading, and then spent, I guess, like 1 full-time year with them, and then I think I was part-time the next year because I was doing a lot of the I think NASCAR and Keep Coon stuff at that point. So yeah, Dave and Debbie, and then like Rich Stadelhofer, and then Dave Avery along the way were like huge for my career.
So it's probably been said before, but we gotta ask. Can you talk about how you landed with Coons? Because I feel like that was like the second pivotal moment of your career. And one thing that always impressed me about Keith and Pete, we saw it with Christopher Bell, I feel like we saw it with you, was they picked you guys on very small resumes. Can you talk about how they discovered you?
And I think Keith had maybe watched me at Oval Nationals. I'm trying to remember back to his story that he told. Yeah, I ran Glenn Crosnow's non-wing sprint car with Brian Sunby.
That's crazy.
Did you see Brian Sunby?
Yeah, Brian Sunby. Yeah, it was a great car. Really fast. Had super shocks on it, all that, the purple shocks. But anyways, I think he noticed me there, and then I was gonna run Glenn's midget at Chili Bowl, and we were super fast. Leading the heat race by like a half a lap, biked into one, flipped, landed on the wall, destroyed the car. And then that's Pete Willoughby had come over and was like, "Oh, we got a backup car. We'll get down for you, whatever." But then, in the rules, I wasn't able to jump in somebody else's car. So we were done for the week, whatever. But then that, led into them giving me the opportunity for that 2011 season. So yeah, we went to Tucson, and won both races out with them. And then, went national midget racing and Silver Crown series for them that year. And yeah, that was my first time really out of California full time, and had a way better season than I ever imagined.
So I was talking earlier about Sam and I not really being impressed with you, and then we went to Ohio
Boy, were we
Speed Week.
fucking wrong.
And we went to Ohio Speed Week, and I remember we went to Cannonball, which I think we all think is just an incredible track and have no clue what happened to it. And there was a bunch of crazy shit that happened that night. But I remember Sam had set quick time. And I remember distinctly sitting on my mule with my dad as Kyle went out, because he had to stay in the infield for time trials. And I remember saying to my dad, well, we'll see if this kid's got it. I mean, all he ever runs is the West Coast. Here he is on a slick track. He's probably fucked tonight. And you went second quick time, won the feature, and I think you won like two or three of the next few races and just destroyed us, and then went on a huge run in that 1K car. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, Cannonball was a sick track. Like, yeah, I remember me and I guess Schaefer and David Gravel actually gets in the mix here, and I think I don't know if he slides me or slides somebody else and hits the fence in 1 and 2, but it was just I just remember it being like a really cool venue, pit area way up high. You could look down on the track. It was super slick. I mean, everywhere kind of felt slick with Goodyears back then, but yeah, that car was really good. It was like a spike chassis, Davy Jones tuning on it, so I'm sure it had all the non-wing setup on it. But yeah, it was fast. We won a lot of races in that car and ran up front a lot, especially at Ohio Speed Week that year.
That was
2012.
Yeah, right around there. That was
Right?
a crazy
Yeah.
night.
Yeah,
Logan
what,
Schuchart
Knoxville?
burned
Yeah,
it.
12.
Didn't you win Knoxville prelim too?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah, it was a good year.
And Logan Schuchart burned to the ground that night, didn't he?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're gonna go to more modern stuff. I feel like that's probably where we need to go for the second half of this. Kyle, one thing none of us really know, and I don't think it's really ever been said, what is the actual origin story of High Limit? Like, how did High Limit actually come together?
I think originally it kind of was an idea of just how I could race more, like there wasn't a lot of midweek racing going on. And, yeah, that's when we started the midweek thing, which was a lot of fun and way easier to operate probably than it is these days. But yeah, no, it was cool. And then I think, we realized that, the Outlaws or Brian Carter, whatever you want to call it, wasn't going to allow his teams or drivers to participate. And then really, I mean, we didn't really have like much plans of going national, but, Tony Stewart had reached out to us about, wanting to kind of get out of owning a series, and we kind of saw the opportunity there, and already had the relationship with Flow Racing, and then obviously had a lot of ideas of our own on how we can make sprint car racing bigger and better, and better financially for the teams and drivers. Have more teams and drivers traveling, all that. So yeah, then it kind of just snowballed really quickly into what it is today. Which is wild, because yeah, just a few years ago we were, going to Putnamville to run a midweek show. So, but it's pretty cool. I mean, it's fun to kind of put your ideas out there and see them kind of come to fruition.
So did Flo come to you? Did you go to Flo? And when did Brad get involved?
Well, yeah, I mean, Flo had sponsored me. I'm trying to get the timing all right, but I think Flo had already been a partner of mine on my own personal racing. So then, yeah, I mean, I naturally had that relationship, and then when the midweek stuff came about, obviously that was easy and natural to go to them. And then again, with the national stuff, we already had the relationship in place. So they've been awesome partners, and I think they've been an awesome thing for grassroots racing in general, pavement, dirt, late models, sprint cars, whatever. So we're super happy with that relationship.
And then
So
when did Bra-
all bullshit aside, Kyle, if you were going to run for a national championship and you were going to win it, are you choosing right now today, if you, on your resume, to win an outlaw championship or a high limit championship? I don't want a sales pitch. I want truth and why.
Well, if you're trying to make a living, I would choose high limit for sure. I mean, I don't know why anybody wouldn't. Um, Obviously, yeah, everybody knows the Outlaws and their legacy, and yeah, who wouldn't want to be on that list? But at the end of the day, there's probably not that many people that really care about stats. So I think we're all trying to make a living and supply for our families and our kids and whatnot. So yeah, I would no bullshit go high limit racing.
I
so
love
when
it.
did so when did Brad get involved? I'm assuming pretty early.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, Brad's a big idea person, anyways. So I would say it stemmed from Brad. He's got ideas and all that, and more from what I remember was just more like, man, like, how do we get you to race more? Like he wanted to see me racing more sprint car races. So he's like, man, there seems to be a midweek deal because obviously I can't run a lot of weekend shows. Um, so yeah, it kind of started with that idea, and then we turned it into that midweek thing, which then evolved into the national tour.
So a lot of times in racing, there's these people that hold these high positions, and when you're kind of on the outside looking in, they seem like they're these incredible people. And then you kind of meet some of them in racing, and you find out that a lot of them are probably more fly by night than you thought, more seat of your pants than you thought. But one person who I know in Sam and I, whenever we've dealt with them, Brad Sweet impresses the hell out of us in terms of like how much of a go-getter he is and how hard he actually works. And I don't think people actually realize that. Like when we were saying he would have a tough time winning the high limit series this year, it's because we know how hard he works on high limit behind the scenes. Can you kind of talk about that? Because I don't think people have any respect for how hard and how good of an official Brad is in that sense.
Yeah, no, I'm always been, I've dated his sister, been married to his sister for a while now, but I've especially through this whole high limit, kind of journey, I've been super impressed with like how hard he works, how, his vision for the future, his vision for the present and past and all of that is like usually pretty correct. And he's just, I mean, he grinds nonstop on high limit, silver dollar, now narc, of how do we position sprint car racing to be in the best possible spot it can be in. And I think a lot of people don't see the hard work, obviously, like I get to, or the day to day. So I think they view it as like greed, which is not at all how I see it or how I feel. But no, he works really hard. He's got big visions for everything. And I mean, you guys have kids, so I'm sure you've seen the movie Sing, but he reminds me of the koala bear on there, just like never takes no for an answer, always just, nope, there's a way. And, he works his ass off to get everything to where it is. So yeah, I'm proud of him for that, honestly. And, impressed that he can like balance it all, between his driving, performing at a high level. I still think, he could go win any big race right now if he was in the right car with the right team and people, while also still, you know, preparing and pushing out a big series like High Limit.
So that tees me up perfectly because I have gotten to race a lot of race cars, and I have said from the beginning, I feel like I'm the best mid-pack fucking field filler around sometimes. But a lot of really good drivers have jumped into a lot of really good cars and been successful, not successful. How is it and why is it that it really seems like every car you get into, you overperform in nearly every situation?
I mean, I wouldn't agree with that all. Like, I wouldn't. I wouldn't agree with that because, like, I go to Australia. The only time I've had success in Australia now is when I brought Trevor with me, who's probably has Paul's notebook and gets to, obviously spend every day with Paul and knows the feel I like, knows the setups we run. And I've gone to Australia any other time, I've been terrible, like really bad. And then, even on the late model side of things, like I was never the dirt late model. Like, yeah, I had my moments of being really fast or being competitive, but I also had way more nights of not being competitive. So I don't know. I think I've just been sure I've got talent. Sure, I can a lot of times carry a car, but I think as the sport has gotten tougher, like I've definitely realized you have to have a good team in place. And thankfully for me, I've been able to be with Paul for over 10 years, you know, being at Hendrick Motorsports, like anybody can be fast there. So, yeah, I'm pretty fortunate. And I recognize that too, which I think is also important.
But to Dom's point there, I mean, based on, what Dom's saying, like we raced golf carts all blindfolded with our women telling us which way to turn. And there was 5 of us, Carson Macedo, Chase Randall, me, Ryan Giles, and Kyle. And Kyle still had 2 seconds on the field, man. It's the craziest thing.
Well, that's because I'm used to my wife yelling directions at me all day long.
I honestly can't believe you're actually able to make an answer out of that question. I felt like your answer is because I'm fucking good, Dom.
No,
That's what Corey would have
I
said.
love that.
no. I tell my dad that. I tell my dad that I carried him the whole time.
That's awesome.
No.
So do you think? Hey,
tough
so you
subject.
think at Chili Bowl a couple of years back that Keith Coons was sabotaging you or what?
No, I think no on that deal for sure. I actually think my car, like with Paul, drives so much different than everybody else's midget that I ever get in. Like, I feel like I would love to have like a hybrid of my car and Keith's cars because Keith's I feel like have so much grip. I like can't get turned. I'm like wheeling and all the stuff, and then my car I'm just like drifting around the track. So it took me a minute to get well. It took me more than a minute to get used to Keith's cars. I needed that practice day that I wasn't there for, but no, that was one of those things where I'm like, man, maybe I should have just stayed where I was at and not gone to Tulsa.
So
I
that kind
remember
of
you guys had that King chassis when you and
Yeah.
Paul were running. I felt like you guys were lights out with that, and then when you built whatever that other one was, it seemed like it took a way longer time to get going. But when you had the King, it seemed like you guys were ripping.
That first King that we had, yeah, dude, we won 9 out of 11 races and finished 4th in the other 2. And yeah, it was just, I mean, it was just crazy, like fast and like just balanced and gripped up and great. But then the next King that we built was I felt like drove very similar like my stuff does now. Like I'm kind of sliding around. I'm not like as balanced. I can't run the cushion, like I can't lean into the cushion without kind of slow shoving the nose. And um yeah, I think we just don't race enough. Like you have to race, and that's the thing with like Heath's midgets and Chad Boat, like they've got multi-car teams and they're building their notebook and like just finessing on their stuff where like I ran Placerville, which is nothing like the Chili Bowl, and then Ventura, and then we're gonna go to the Chili Bowl. Like it's hard to build and get up to speed as quick as they do, which I think is also impressive that we do have the success that we have in the midget with not running ever.
so what feel do you actually want to have in a sprint car?
Um, I don't know. That's a a good question because I don't really know how to answer it. Like I don't really know what feel. I don't know. Can any of you describe what feel you want? You just want like
Spe-
balanced, fast, gripped up, and
Yeah, I mean, laid
you
left with
know.
the right
Sam
wrist.
told me.
Yeah.
Sam
told
told me
Daryl
not
this
to
would be
ask
the answer.
that question.
Yeah, I told Daryl this would be the answer, and the reason I said that is because the level at which you drive is quite a bit higher than a lot of the other guys. So, like, I would
Nobody on
say,
this podcast, that's for
well,
sure.
I would say like Dom knows exactly what he wants. Like if we were at the track, Dom would tell me, "Hey man, this is what I got to have to be good." And then I would be the same way and JJ would be the same way, but it's like I always try to explain to everybody like the speed you carry a car at, like, and I don't think a lot of people are going to understand this, and you might not even understand it because it's just what you do, but like the speed at which you carry a car, it already makes the car so much better. And everybody go, oh, well, why don't y'all just do that? Well, because we're just, most average guys just can't do that. But for you, like in your situation, that's why I told Daryl not to ask the question, because it would be hard to get this. Like we could get a good answer out of Donnie Schatz. We really could. Like, because
he's a natural.
Well, but that's what I'm saying.
Kyle's such a natural that he
Right.
doesn't even really have to think about it. He just does.
And that's the difference, And I wish there was a way we could explain this better. I'm doing a piss poor job of it, but I wish there was a way that we could explain it better to make people understand the difference between a guy like yourself and other guys. Just it's just I don't know. I think, like we were going to get into the deal between you and Paul. Like, obviously we know Paul's very, very good at what he does. And Daryl kind of brought this up, but I'll steal it while I'm on topic here of like, how much is you, how much is Paul? Like, how much do you feel like some nights, hey man, I'm carrying the car? How many nights do you feel like, man, Paul's got us so good, I can do whatever I want? That's like a big question I think a lot of people have is, like, in your eyes, like, how do you two guys see that relationship together? Is it, obviously, is he saying, all right, you're 80% or I'm 25%, or, like, how do both of you guys feel in those situations?
I mean, I think for me, I don't know what Paul thinks, but I think I've realized a long time ago that we are 50-50. Like, and I think it goes back to the times like when I've gone to Australia and I've sucked. Like, I'm like, man, I wish Paul was here with me. I wouldn't be this bad. So, like, I definitely realize that or at least I feel like we're 50-50, and I think he would feel the same way because when other guys get in his cars, in California, they don't have near the success that we have, or they have to work really hard to get to a point where they're, somewhat competitive. So, I think that's a good, I think that's important for any, driver crew chief combo, is to like have that trust that, one is not better than the other and we both need each other. So that's where I've been, with my relationship with Paul for a very long time. And yeah, I think it's just for me, like jumping in other people's stuff. Like, yes, I've had success in other people's cars, but it's not as easy as it is with Paul. And that's why I think I don't get in many other people's cars anymore like I used to, just because I know what I've got with Paul and I'm confident in that. And yeah, I know that he makes me who I am, and I also make him who he is.
So
Yeah.
growing up in California, I feel like I've gotten to watch a lot of people. Like even Bell, like we were good buddies from racing micro sprints and stuff. And I think Christopher is an insane generational talent. But the only person I've ever seen with my own eyes that I feel like can manipulate a car like you do and can create speed in points of the racetrack unlike anyone else but you is Corey Day. And like I saw it young. He couldn't put it all together at 15 or 16, but the way he creates speed, like in the apex of the corner, or like he'll jump the cushion and then be able to gain it back. It's shit like I feel like I see you able to do, and that's so rare. But like the manipulation that you guys can do with a race car, I just think is completely on another level from other drivers. I think that when you look at Brad Sweet, when you look at Donnie Schatz, when you look at Mark Kinzer, when you look at Steve Kinzer, some of the greatest guys ever to drive a race car, but they had a feel that they needed, they had a style that they drove to, and they had a path to success. Where I feel like you and Corey genuinely don't. Like I can see both of you guys winning on a gut slick, half mile around the bottom or through the middle, and then I can see you guys bang a cushion or four wheels over the shit when it's rough. Like you guys are the only two people I've ever seen be able to have that manipulation factor.
Yeah, no, and it's been fun. Like watching Corey or racing with Corey, because I feel like he's like the only guy I've ever like been behind. Like, man, that that looks like me. So no, it's cool, and yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, I think he can create like speed even to another level than I can. And I mean, I think I can do all that. I know I can do all that. I've done it all. I've just gotten smarter, I think, and and realized, I don't need to risk myself or my car that much anymore. And I think that's also what's kind of allowed me to grow up and have more success consistently, which he'll probably get to that point hopefully someday, soon. But yeah, I don't know. I think just growing up in California, and I mean, we do have two kind of different backgrounds a little bit, outlaw carts versus micros, but I don't know. I just think it's the tracks out there really force you to learn how to like be aggressive, and then you just develop that at a young age, and you kind of just take it everywhere. Like, I have the same, I feel like, style in every car that I drive at every type of racetrack, and yeah, I think that makes, kind of adapting probably to other cars a little easier too.
So Sam, whenever you and I talk Kyle Larson, I'm gonna give you a challenge here. I want you to turn these into questions. But the two moments you always talk about with Kyle Larson, the first one was at Kokomo. And you told me that basically to you was like the day Kyle Larson changed sprint car racing, or was the start of it. Could you kind of talk about that? And do you have any questions about that for Kyle?
Yeah, and he'll probably remember it once we start talking about it. But we were at Kokomo, and I don't know, it probably was an all-star race, I believe. It had to be, but no, it was an outlaw race.
I don't
It
think
was
I ran an all-star race.
It was
with
that
him.
long.
Yeah,
Yep.
it was an outlaw race. Basically, it had built like a curb up on the wall, basically, kind of rolled up it. And you were like literally the only guy going by flat out on it. And everybody else was like backed off, picking it back up, getting into one. And you were just, I mean, it was unreal. The amount of speed, like I just remember the dash because TK was trying to give you like everything he could in the dash, and at the time TK was still like pretty prime, and
Yeah, I think he ended up winning the feature that night.
yeah,
Anyways,
yeah.
so.
I was there that night.
And I just remember, like, I told Daryl, I said, man,
You were
there ain't nobody
eight
can.
tenths. You
Yeah,
was
I said, there's
8/10
nobody
quicker in the dash.
Yeah, I told him, so there's nobody that can do that. They can't do that. That's physically impossible for any guy to do that at all. And that's the night I was like, dude, I've never seen nothing like that before.
And you felt at that time he changed the way people raced races, right?
Well, I feel like he's changed the whole game. Like I can tell you when we started racing, and every time some old guy's going to comment on this and say, "Oh, well, back in, but this is totally true." Like, I remember you could win races with good race cars, good race car drivers at like 80%, like driving smart races, blah blah blah. And when you came along, like, it's up the game so much for all these guys, and every younger driver in this generation will tell you that. They will 100% tell you that instead of these nights where you can roll along and win 80% in a really good race car, like, we're all 100, 110 in our eyes, every night, and it never used to be like that. And I promise you, like, I know we're gonna get these guys come on here and rag us, say we're hating on Steve and Sammy, and that is not the case. But the style of sprint car racing did change 100% in my eyes. I guarantee it did.
Yeah.
And I bet Dom thinks the same thing.
So I wanted to add to that. I helped for about a year a kid from Washington, driving coach with micro sprints and stuff and I shit you not, Kyle, this blew me away. The amount of dads in the pit area that drop your name, like, you need to be like more like Kyle. You need to, and I'm like, this poor fucking child has no choice but to go murder himself against the wall for 5 laps until he rips the front end out of it, because this dad thinks his kid's gonna be you, and they're not. Like, do you see that in the outlaw cart stuff when you take your kids?
Do you see that? Yeah.
I mean, I don't get to watch a whole lot of outlaw card stuff anymore, but No, I mean, I've heard different like people tell me that same exact thing, you know, and even like going back to Corey Day, like I remember he must have been having a conversation with Trevor Canales, and this was probably 3 years ago, or I don't know. Corey ran Paul's car a while back, but Trevor's like, yeah, Corey said he grew up his whole life just studying you, and I was like, shit, like that's, I mean, that's I can tell because he drives just like me, but that's really cool, you know. It's cool to have an impact on, you know, what parents are telling their kids to drive like. But yeah, no, and it's wild, but
I saw a video of your
yeah, I don't know. I
son.
wish my
I
kids
saw a
would
video
drive a
you
little
took
harder
of your son
sometimes.
just taking an absolute digger, and like you're literally like, oh, you're like
Yeah,
giggling at it.
that's
It made me
epic.
laugh so hard. I'm like, I feel like Kyle was proud. Yeah.
Yeah, that was like the
Oh,
proudest, that was the proudest one
yeah.
ever. And then he
He looked
got
like a
scared
ripper
and
in that
was, you know,
video.
kind of calmed down, but he's getting it back. But yeah, yeah, no, I loved it. I loved it.
So Sam, when you and I talk Kyle on our drives or whatever, the other moment you always talk about is the truck race in-car footage of him. Do you have any questions you'd like to ask about that, or just set the stage for people, just what you were seeing?
Yeah, like because I've seen like in-car footage of that. So if you watch every other guy's hands, I mean, because you know how long the steering is in those cars, so like every guy's like they're just like, you know, they're like this, you know, and then you see Kyle, he's like this, and it's like, dude, it's not even fair. Like, you know, it's like slow motion for him, you know, and that's what, like, and I would like, if we could pull another deal up to show one of these years Bubba Wallace was pretty fast and he's got an in-car deal. Um, and I would like to compare the hands because it's unbelievable how different the guys would be. I know sprint cars are quite a bit different, but it's something like that. And at the time that probably wasn't a normal car for you to drive. So,
No.
to adapt and to be able to be that slowed down for you, that is like the number one thing I always say is I feel like for normal people, like what we feel and what we see, I feel like things are just, you know, in your eyes or in your seat seem slowed down because of how, I don't know, it just seems, I don't know, you in situations you seem a lot more graceful than like, I guess what we would call the rest of the field to be.
Yeah, and I don't know what that is, but I would assume, you know, growing up with the background of racing sprint cars and midgets, like that, those everything reacts so fast that you learn, I think you learn to feel the tires um very well. And I think, you know, going to NASCAR, yeah, like we have all this data that we can look at.
That's crazy.
Like I can see every driver's data, telemetry, whatever, like the squiggly lines of throttle, brake, steering, RPM, speed, whatever. And like Bell and I would say have the smoothest hands in the garage, and I would assume it's from our background. And like yeah, like ours will just be nice and round, like a round little hill, and everybody else would be like jagged, you know, from just
Right.
like and and I don't know, like I don't know why that is, or if one's better or not, but I just feel like from our sliding, bouncing through holes, you know, lots of shock travel, you know, tall sidewalls, like we just learn a feel, like a we can kind of just get that down to a fine, you know, feel. But yeah, I'm definitely glad I grew up racing the cars that I did.
So
I think,
we were talking about Paul Silva earlier, and JJ had a
well,
question that
actually,
I'm dying to hear the answer to, but you sound like you got another question for him.
well, no, I just feel like that leads into my other question pretty good. Like, I feel like your internal clock, it's kind of different than what you're talking about, but similar. Like, what do you think makes your internal clock, like, especially in the dirt car stuff, but I'm sure it's just as relative in NASCAR, like, to be able to know that you're cutting a half a tenth or a tenth off of a lap? Because I feel like that's something where, you know, I try really hard to do it for a living, and I struggle with being able to tell. Like, it always feels like you're going faster on the top, especially at a place like Knoxville, you know, and I feel like your ability to recognize just minor increases in speed is like nearly inhuman. And I was just, where do you think that comes from? Just like, you know, racing the outlaw cart shit and everything being so fine tuned, or just, it's just built with it.
Yeah, I don't know because I'm not sure. I'm not sure because I feel like in the NASCAR stuff, we get to see our lap time like
Right.
on our dash, and
Oh,
there's so many times where I'm like, man, that felt faster, and then I cross start finish, I'm like, oh, that was a half tenth slower. Like, what
yeah.
the fuck, you know? And then I go back to do what I just did, and then it's back to being a half tenth faster. I'm like, that didn't feel faster. So, but yeah, in the sprint car stuff, I mean. I don't know. I mean, you're not looking at lap time, so I guess you're more going off of feel, and maybe a lot of times that feel can, you know, add up to momentum and then build to lap time. So yeah, I'm not really sure. I think we're in sprint cars, you're just always searching for grip. So I think you can, or at least for me, I like you feel that grip, or whether it be just a little bit or I mean, I'm sure you get it from all the senses. You have to in sprint cars. You feel the tire grow, you hear the engine, you you know notice your hands. Yeah, all of it. So it's probably where you get your internal clock from, I would say, in that.
And then
So
you
what are
had
you
another.
bad at?
What?
What are you bad at? Like you're fucking awesome behind the wheel, but like, I mean, are we a shitty golfer? Can't play basketball? I mean, never
Yeah,
learned how to
I definitely
dance.
can't play basketball. Yeah. I thought the
Thank-
voice of God wasn't able to
yeah, thanks, Jackson.
Nobody else could hear him, but that
Jackson,
was
so
funny.
for everybody
Jackson
that
does not
everybody
look like an athlete, but he's a fucking athlete. That
every
was the biggest thing that surprised me playing basketball in Knoxville. Was like, who's this fucking nerd coming in here? And dude, he was like doing the, what do they call it? I don't know. He looked like Giannis out there, like
Oh, the
laying it
Euro
up.
step.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
Euro
yeah.
step. Yeah, I'm like, who is this guy?
I
yeah,
love
so
it.
They're
everybody
like,
that
that's
didn't
the
hear
video guy
Jackson
for Dirt
Stills,
Vision.
Oh, that's funny.
yeah, Jackson Stills says that Kyle Larson sucks at basketball.
Yeah, I do. I shoot two-handed.
Oh,
Yeah, I get picked on. It's fine.
He's got the granny free
Yeah,
free throw.
Yeah, I'm terrible.
uh, that,
So
But yeah, I do
JJ,
suck at basketball.
so JJ, you had another question
oh,
related to Paul that I'm dying to hear this
yeah.
answer
What's
for.
the worst ass chewing that Paul's ever given you? Like, what did you do, and what? How pissed was he?
So he's honestly like he's never gotten too mad at me. I can really only think of like one time, maybe two. And usually I just kind of laugh at him and then he's fine. But I remember we went to like, there was a period where I didn't race sprint cars, when I first got into Ganassi, I didn't race sprint cars all year. And so, I'd go 12 months without getting in a sprint car, and we went to Yuma for the Kokopah, whatever, the winter heat, I think they called it. And it was like night one, the heat race. We had a restart or something, and I think I missed like the bottom, and Steve Kinzer drove by me, and it was like points based probably, so I lost some points. And he was just not like cussing me, but I could tell he was like I mean, yeah, he probably cussed a little bit, but he was not happy. And I'm like, dude, just give me a minute. Like, I haven't been in this thing for a fucking year. Like, just give me a minute. And I think we went on to win the feature that night. So, um, but yeah, he'll get he yeah, he doesn't really get too mad at me, I think. He might like internally, but I think going back to, I think he like we both know that we're better with each other. I think he knows to just kind of hold it in. And I
I
think he's
remember.
gotten older. I think he's calmed down. Ever since he started dating Natalie, he's
He's
become so
nicer now.
soft. he he used to like, and he might still like once a year yell at a fan, who's like just comes walking in the trailer or whatever. But I mean, they're like in 2020 when I was racing every night. I mean, it didn't matter if you were 5 years old or 85 years old. If you got in his space, he was gonna freaking want to kill you. Yeah, so we don't get that Paul anymore, which is probably okay.
So I actually told Sam I wanted to ask this, and I forgot to put this on the deal. And it's not a big racing question. I always tell this story. I've told it to your dad. When you were racing for Keith and I was working for Keith, you did the driver intros at the Chili Bowl, and my dad and I pushed your car up at the top of the ramp. And then at one point, you forgot your head sock, so you went running back to get your head sock. And my dad and I, first of all, we were blown away by how many people were just crowding your car. And then the second thing that just blew us away was how many, like, 40-year-old virgins were chasing you with, like, their die casts ready for you to sign. And
40-year-old virgins.
what is the etiquette, and how do you want people to be at the racetrack?
Well, Chili Bowl's tough because, I mean, they're just like, you know, they're in your, everything's in your face there. Um, but man, I don't know. It's tough. Like, I know how much the fans mean to the sport, and I appreciate, you know, them loving me and buying all of it. But yeah, there's definitely times where it's like, man, I'm here to race, and you know, once the night starts, like, give me a little space. Like, you can tell, like, I come out of the trailer, I'll sign and stuff and take pictures, but I just, yeah, I don't like, I really, like, pet peeve, I hate when I'm like in the car, like buckling up, helmet on, like all of it, and they're like sticking, you know, something in the cockpit, hey, sign this, and they don't even ask, they just say, sign this, and I'm like, no, I'm not signing it. Like, I'm in, like,
I'm working.
this is my office. This is my office right now. Like,
Yeah.
we don't go to your work and your workspace and walk right in your front door and, you know, bug you. But no, I mean, I try to do the best job I can. I try to get, you know, sign and all that done before the races start, so the line's a little less and everybody can go home at the end of the night, and so I can go home sooner too. But yeah, it gets, you know, like the summer months when I get racing a lot, like, I would say that's what almost burns me out sometimes, is just like walking in the pit area, like I'm so excited to get there, and then it's like, oh my God, there's a line of 200 people that I got to get through before the drivers meeting starts. So that can kind of drain me sometimes, but you know, it's part of it, and I love being a popular guy and one that, you know, everybody wants to cheer for or not cheer for too. So, um, but yeah, it can wear on you sometimes, but
I,
oh
w- I,
well.
w- I wasn't even asking for, like, the VAT side of it. When do you want fans to come get autographs, basically?
Um, I mean, all night, honestly, like, but just don't, like, I don't know, be respectful and, like, I guess let me come out there on my time or my terms. You know, I don't like when I'm trying to sit in the trailer and they're like, Kyle, 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 Kyle. Like, I'm trying to have a conversation right now, or yeah, or like I haven't got my helmet off. Um, so you know, yeah, because I do want to keep the line short after the races. Like, I will sign all night, but I just try to do it, you know, on my terms, I guess, or when there's a break in the action and whatnot.
So there's one.
Dude, it's heavy duty. Like, I pitted next to him at
I feel
Kokomo
so
one
bad
time,
for
and it was his
anybody
birthday.
who pits next to me, like I do, because the fans, they
It,
lose sense of where they're at, and they're like all up in your
I
guys'.
couldn't get into my
Yeah,
car.
yeah,
It was crazy, dude. And it was your birthday, and they stood around my car and sang to you, and we're like trying to load. And it was like, I mean, it was like a cult, like
yeah.
it was
Yeah.
crazy, dude. It was like going to a Catholic church for Kyle Larson. It
I
was
posted
wild.
a photo.
And I mean, you're just like looking around, like, thank you.
Yeah.
I
I
posted a
just hope
photo.
everybody in the pits, like, or all, I just hope, like, the competitors recognize that I recognize, you know, my
Nah,
fans,
yeah, I
and
know.
like, I don't like that they're like that. Because yeah, man, it's just like I said, they just lose track of where they're even at, and they're just so focused on me that they're just all up in your guys'
Yeah.
space.
I took a photo of your line after Knoxville, and I had
Dude.
people, like, putting up messages like, fake news. There's no way his line was that big. Like I'm just going out of my way to find some fucking photoshopped
Yeah,
fake line. I
It's
had
wild. I ripped through the lines quick though. Like, I stopped. So, and Okay, this is one thing I do want to say, and I hope all fans see this. I don't like lines. I like when they like corral all around me and just surround me because I can just kind of like scan and like sign and take pictures. When the line gets long, dude, it takes so long because like there's like a 6 foot gap to the next person. You get done, they leave. The next person's not even paying attention to that. I'm done with that person. So then they take a long time to get over there. Then the phone's not ready, all that. So yeah, whenever there's a line that forms, I usually end up just like walking with the line. Like the line doesn't come to me, I go through the line.
That photo's insane.
So
Is
I
that
remember
Eagle?
2020
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
Eagle.
Eagle.
during COVID. Obviously, Jimmy and Paul are buddies, so we fucking park next to you all the time. And we were halfway through Thunder Through the Plains, that all started thing, and I told Jimmy, "What the fuck is it going to take to not park next to Kyle? I'm so over having to wait 45 minutes to get out of this place." And then the last night when we won, like I'm thinking, "Oh, I'm going to have a big line." I had like 5 people there, and I'm like, "Fuck, I kind of wish Kyle was here tonight because I'd feel pretty cool." But
Yeah,
it
we
was
did.
just
The
crazy.
lines are way bigger nowadays too than back then.
Absolutely. Well, there's more fans.
Yeah,
I really
true.
think that like that 2020 year brought so many more fans to our sport for you racing so much that it was. I mean, it was a obviously crazy circumstances with everything that went on in the world, but like you racing so much dirt track was the best thing for our sport because like I don't know if you remember this when Huset's opened up that year, and you crashed in the heat race. So they were giving away like half of a pig or something like that. And I remember at the drivers' meeting telling you, "You're fucked. Like you're not winning tonight." And then you crashed. You crashed in the heat race, and we were parked like across from you. So I went over to Paul and I was like, "You think I got in his head? Like I just fucking got him stirred up in the drivers' meeting?" And Paul was all pissed off, and then we ended up not winning the race. I ran second to Eliason, but I remember thinking like, dude, there were so many people for everybody, and I talked so much shit to you and Paul that night. It was fucking hilarious.
Yeah, I don't know where I was going right here.
Mm.
Yeah. No, that was
So
good. That was a good year for sure. That was, I mean, not success aside, like that was such a fun year for me. I mean, obviously, I wish it wouldn't have went the way it did for me, but whatever. But just honestly,
Worked
for
out for the best.
yeah, yeah, it did. And just me, like, I always wanted to race a full year of sprint cars, but I really never got to, or I mean, at least on like the national scene like that. So I'd always joked around. I'm like, man, I'm gonna take a year off NASCAR someday, and I'm gonna go race sprint cars, and just naturally it happened, but not my choice. But no, it was just so much fun, like to go back and I literally had never been inside my motorhome with the slides in before that year. You go to the NASCAR track, it's all set up, slides out. I didn't know how to operate anything. And man, we went on, there was like 2 road trips that year. I think we left for like 7 weeks at a time with, Caitlin, the 2 kids. We had 2 cats. Um, and dude, yeah, it's just yeah, time of my life I'll never forget, which was awesome.
That's
so
awesome.
we were looking at that photo earlier there, and I think that's from Eagle. And Dom wanted to ask you about Eagle.
Oh yeah. So I feel like I was there when you jumped in the 17 car. I
Mm.
don't think I raced that night. I feel like I was just there to watch because like we had my car back that year. Honestly, of all the things you've accomplished, did I race? Did I finish? Yeah, of course. One of the times we went to Eagle, me and Tim Kading were so fucking hungover, and I think we both pulled off or something. Like, it was awful. But anyways, you jump into a car that's never won an outlaw race, and honestly, like the thing was a shitbox. Like it had never really done anything with anybody into it. And then to roll in there and win the Outlaw show for their first Outlaw win, I feel like it was the kiss of death for Saldana.
I
Was it
know.
Saldana driving it or was it Jack?
Yeah,
Yeah, it
yeah.
was Joey.
What was that like? How did that even happen?
Well, let's see. It kind of came together like last minute. I think like the day before. I don't know. I must have been with Ricky or something, and I don't remember which one of us brought it up, but ultimately, yeah, we ended up flying there. I brought a seat. David Farrow came and helped kind of mechanic on it and get my seat mounted and all that. And And yeah, I had never even raced at Eagle before, but I knew it was a great track and just wanted to race. Like that was the point in my career. I was like, I just want to race. And I guess yeah, 2017, I was having a good year cup racing that year also. But yeah, you know, I wouldn't call that car a shit box, but
No.
it did not drive very good. That was one of the I'll say that's one night where I'm like, okay, I maybe carried it
It was a
some.
shitbox. I'm telling you right
Dude,
now, in
it
the nicest way
drove.
possible.
I remember I came in after hot laps and they're like, how is it? And I was like, I feel like I'm driving a school bus. Like I just remember going down the straightaway and the car felt so long. It was just like bouncing, floating, like just everything was just lazy. And yeah, it was a fun feature though. And I remember like the engine wasn't running, like it was just popping and sputtering and I just remembered I was like, fuck it, I just got to be wide open to keep any wheel spin to keep the engine going. So I just ran around the whole track wide open. And yeah, it was wow. I remember my heart rate was like pegged. It had to be pegged. I didn't, track anything back then, but I remember I could hardly talk in the interview. It was wild, but that's one of the races I'll never forget, just because obviously, winning an outlaw race was cool. Winning with Ricky, one of my best friends, all that was cool. But then also on like the flip side of that, like I remember it was also not a good feeling because yeah, like Joey had been struggling that year and yeah, I felt like, man, I just probably got him fired, and that's not at all what I wanted to come here to do. Um so yeah, that part of it was kind of bittersweet because Joey was always one of my favorite drivers, to look up to. But yeah, still a crazy, crazy race. That was a fun one.
Who was your favorite driver growing up?
Yeah, growing up, so when I was really young, probably Roger Crockett. Um, they lived nearby, and my dad, and Brian, and there was a whole group of them that were friends for a long time from racing, slot cars in our garage, and then they all built fun carts and would go to, I think Roger's house. So, my dad actually, long before I raced, he actually owned an outlaw cart, and I think Roger ran it a couple times. So I liked Roger, Jack Hollinschild, Joey Saldana. Um, and yeah, I would say like as I grew up, I, which is funny, like I really like Sammy Swindell, and even with all the like I don't know, I don't think he still hates me, but I think for a long time he did not like me. And Chili Bowl one year he wanted to beat me up. Knoxville one year he mouthed me. There's been a few times where he's like been not very nice to me, and I've always been like, man, I love Sammy. So, I like Sammy.
So you mentioned earlier about taking a year off from Cup. When you and Bell, and I don't think we're getting this with Corey Day, when you guys left, there was kind of this sense that, oh, these sprint car guys are going to NASCAR. They're going to make their millions, and they'll be back when they're like 29 running the World of Outlaws for the rest of their lives. And over the years, it's become more and more clear that you guys plan to spend a lot more time in NASCAR than sprint car fans were maybe hoping. And you've openly said that sprint cars are your favorite sport, or your favorite thing to race. Is this a deal where maybe sprint car fans don't give NASCAR enough credit for how much you enjoy it, or what's the situation there? Why do you like? I remember Bell when he would like go with Sam and I somewhere. He would say like, "Oh, I'm going to own a World of Outlaw team. I'm going to be back here in like 5 years." And I feel like that vibe was with you too, and then that didn't really play out. Can you kind of talk about maybe why that happened?
Yeah, I mean, I think for sure, yeah, that vibe was there and has been there for a lot of us who've gone to NASCAR. I think for me, I can't speak for anybody else, but I think once you get to NASCAR and I get to compete in a full season. Um, yeah, I get to compete and earn a lot of money, and I still get to run 30 to 40 sprint car races, on the side. So like for me, and I get to compete in all the big races too, Knoxville, Kings Royal, name it. There's a handful of big races that I get to run in, and all that. So it's like it's the perfect balance for what I need right now in my life. And I think too, you get older and you realize like, man, that full-time sprint car schedule is kind of a grind. And I think for me, doing the 2020 stuff, it was like a big eye opener. Not that I chased points or anything, but we raced 90 something races that year. I remember realizing after that, once I was going back to NASCAR, I was like, man, I don't think that I don't really think that I ever want to run a full season. It's just a lot, and I like to pick and choose. Like that 2020, we took 2 weekends off, and like that was nice. You go run the Outlaws, it's like, man, you're grinding from early February to middle of November. Like I don't, because High Limit didn't exist then, so I was like, man, I don't think I want to do that. But yeah, going back to it, I mean, I think just for me right now, like the balance that I get from running 38 weekends a year in NASCAR while also doing another 30 to 40 sprint car races is perfect.
So, Sam, you wanted to ask him. We've already asked David about this.
Yeah,
You
but
wanted to ask him about.
and I want to kind of lead into it. Like, obviously, like Kyle, with the aggressive nature that you drive, you really don't get into a lot of shit very often. Like, to be honest, like,
Because he's leading the fucking race, Sam. He's
well,
up front.
he doesn't always lead them. He doesn't always start up there, but obviously you got into a deal with gravel at Eldora, and then obviously the deal with Pursley, which obviously wasn't your fault. But can you, like, David kind of said his side about and he wasn't it wasn't hateful at all. But he kind of said his side about the Eldora deal, and I mean, I feel like you kind of got into his head that night and probably ruffled him up, emotionally, I think, more than anything.
Also the
What
best
is,
tweets of the year.
yeah, what was, like, now that the kind of the smoke's cleared, what kind of, I don't know, what is your thoughts on the situation?
Yeah, no, that was definitely a fun night. But no, I agree. I mean, I think I don't know how long it was, like 3 outlaw races in a row. I think I ran where I we didn't even race hard. Like, okay, I mean, I guess Husitz, I threw a late, like a slide job on in the final corner when I could have settled for fourth, but it's David, and he's the best right now, so I want yeah, I want to pass him. But there was like 3 outlaw races in a row where I passed him on the last lap, so I was like feeling good about myself, and yeah, I mean, I'm racing him harder, but not dirty or nothing in my eyes at all, just racing, and probably racing him harder than I would others at that time, just because, not anything to do with David, but more so with Cody and all the talking that he had been doing, throughout the last couple years. So yeah, I mean, that was my reason for racing harder. And then yeah, Eldora, I can't really remember all the laps and how they went, but I think I slide him here or something, and it must have made him mad, and so then
Yeah, that wasn't
he.
bad. That wasn't bad.
But that's where, yeah, when we talked in the trailer, he's like, "You almost crashed me in 1 and 2." I'm like, man, I don't remember, but yeah, I mean, I guess I have to think about it. I'm sorry if that's how you felt, but um, and then yeah, I mean, he threw kind of a short one on me, so then I was like, all right, let's go. I'll throw a short one back on you. And then Cody was irate after the race, and um, yeah, like that move right there. I mean, I don't see anything wrong with that, but
Yeah, it was fine.
yeah, I don't know. It's just sprint car racing, and yeah, I mean, it's not for the win, so I can see where he's mad, but that's and his big thing. His big thing after was, well, I'm racing for points. Like, should I care? I don't know. You guys, like, should I care?
No.
I'm out here racing. I mean, there's tons of guys out there racing that aren't raced for points, so I didn't know that mattered to you at that point, but no, I really didn't have, and I don't have any problem with David. It was more my aggression came from Cody, and I'll be honest with that, and they know that. So, yeah, it just kind of is what it is.
And then my other question is like the Pursley deal. I don't know. I mean, because I don't have this in me, but how can you stay so calm in a situation like that? Because I probably would have erupted. There's no fucking way I could have stayed that calm.
Well, I think I, I think what's good about me, and I try to teach my kids this, is that anytime I get crashed or anytime something happens where I'm on the raw end of it, or I did somebody dirty or whatever, I think of like, okay, what did I do to put myself in that position? Um and I mean, well before I got crashed by him, I'm like, okay, I'm running this line where I'm sliding myself. I know a run, or I think a run. If somebody's going to pass me, it's going to come from them running the cushion, and I'm running this line. It's going to be tight. So, like, I already recognized that before I got crashed. So then when I do get crashed because of that, I'm like, well, if I'd have done a better job moving around the track, I mean, I had 60 laps to try a different line. If I'd have found the cushion, he would have never built a run to pass me, or you'll get in the side of me. So yeah, I was frustrated, like, right, initially when I got crashed, because I was like, man, that was, not uncalled for, because I knew it wasn't on purpose or nothing, but I was like, man, that was a pretty big mistake right there. But then, when I got thinking about it, and I felt bad that the crowd was just just booing the shit out of him. Um, so, but no, I think, yeah, that was one where if you just look at that clip, you're like, man, he got crashed. But I could have ran a different line and not had myself in that position.
I'm just
So
glad it wasn't Carson.
Yeah.
So JJ actually has a question for you that I'm actually really curious what your answer is to this, and it's about some of your abilities. JJ, if you want to fire away with that question.
I was just curious if you ever kind of get to a spot where you wish you knew more about working on the cars, like when it's you and your guys out there and stuff. Because I mean, I know you're very honest about like you're good at driving them and you don't really do much as far as working on them goes. Like, is there ever a time where you wish?
Yeah. No, I mean, I definitely think there's a part of me, well, that yes, I wish I knew more about it, or knew more about setup, or just knew how to work on a car in general. But then I think like, man, I'm pretty successful how I am, and I think there's a reason that I'm as successful as I am, and I think that all kind of ties together. But there's definitely times, where it could be Paul and I, or any car that I get in, and we struggle a little bit, where it's like, man, like if I went to Australia, if I knew more about a setup or a feel that I'm looking for, maybe we could at least get to the ballpark quicker. Um, but then I think there's the flip side of that, where it's like, I think a lot of times drivers that think that they know too much about the car dial themselves out of it. So um, for me, I feel like if I can just go and focus on driving, then I'm gonna give it 100%. If I'm out there thinking like, oh man, I think, man, when I come in, I bet if we had a click of shock here, or a quarter turn, there, then your mind is not like fully devoted to like, how am I gonna take what I got and make it go as fast as I can right now. So yeah, I don't know. I would like to learn more, but I don't know if I'm too old for that.
If I had it,
So hold on that. So are you familiar, like if y'all go to a track, like you know what bars are in the car, or do you know, like you're not even that, you're
I
not
can't
that in
tell
tune
you.
with it.
I couldn't tell you how much stagger is in a sprint car. I couldn't tell you how many inches out the right rear is. I couldn't tell you where to start with it. I mean,
But
I
you
know
can't
there's
even
like
go, well, you're not
92s
gonna,
and 94s and
yeah, but you're not
96s,
gonna go
but
to Paul and go, I think we need to move the right rear in a quarter inch, or like you're
never.
not doing that stuff. Okay, I got
Do
you.
you do you
No,
mess around
never.
with the shock adjuster quite a bit?
We don't have any shock adjusters in my car.
Oh, that's funny. Not in your midgets
Even chili
either.
bowl,
Yeah,
nothing.
crazy.
JJ,
Yeah.
he doesn't fucking need them, dude.
I'm not saying he does.
Don't
I
give
was
him
just
any
curious.
ideas. He might
I
fucking
just
get even
laugh.
better.
Like, I laugh when drivers get, they'll do their interviews like, oh yeah, the caution came out, and I mean, I did this in shocks and we got better, and No, you didn't. Like, if anything, you made it worse.
Yeah, yeah. If I
Yeah.
had a dollar for like every parent that's like, yeah, when I bring my kid up, he's gonna have to work on this car because if he doesn't know every button, nut, and bolt in this car, they're never gonna be fast. And I'm just like,
I will say
well,
though,
there's
like
this
having
guy.
kids,
There's this
like having
guy.
kids, I do want Owen. I want Owen to know how to, work on a car. I mean, there was definitely a point in my career where, I helped with like the weekly maintenance and, washing bars, fork tube stuff, changing gears, like getting it ready for the track. But as far as like at track, no, I've never done anything. I mean, I've helped, Colby at the races put fuel in and stuff before, but that's all.
So
But no, I do
then,
want Owen to learn.
Sam, you wanted to ask him about his average day because
I don't think people realize that they think you just drive fucking race cars, and I don't think they realize being in NASCAR, the amount of shit that you actually have to do sometimes,
Yeah,
how
that was
full
gonna
your
be.
schedule really is.
I would say if you wanted to roll into my shit talking segment,
uh-oh.
and I don't really know if it's shit talking, but it's more like that. It bugs me when I hear people like say, "Oh, he gets to pick and choose his sprint car races that he runs. If he ran a full season, it would look a lot different. He would drive different, and he gets to pick and choose." I literally run every sprint car race I possibly can throughout the year because my schedule is so busy, and a normal week. Well, I have no normal weeks. They look different, but I guess in a normal week, I would race Sunday, fly home, get up early, go to the gym, go, be done in time for 10 a.m. meeting, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. meetings, and then, done for the day after that. And then sometimes, I'll have to fly to a sprint car race and go race and then fly home. And there's a lot of traveling back and forth. Yeah, it sounds luxurious, but I would love to run the numbers of the amount of days I'm away from home compared to a World Outlaw guy, because I would say it's compared to a David Gravel or somebody who flies home a lot. I bet David Gravel's home more than I am. Through all the racing that I do, being at the NASCAR tracks on the weekend, all of that. But yeah, more meetings on Wednesday, more racing and traveling. It's a lot. The summer months are crazy. Like I'm June, I would say into May through Knoxville, really. Like I'm maybe home one day a week.
Wow.
Between, racing, meetings. This NASCAR came out with this. It's called the driver ambassador program, where it's like we go and promote the sport and we get paid for it, whatever, which is great. But that burnt the shit out of me because now I've already not home a lot because I race a bunch, and now I'm traveling to California, I'm traveling to New York, I'm doing all this other stuff. It's like I'm never home. So yeah, it's a lot. It's not as luxurious as everybody thinks it is.
So how much of that are you doing alone? Because obviously drag racing is way different, but man, my dad was gone all the time with drag racing. So I can only imagine a lot of that you probably got to be going alone, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't get to, like, my kids, they race Millbridge on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and I would say until September I don't get to go to like any of them. Because I'm gone, racing by myself. So, Caitlin's kind of taking the kids, doing all their things. And yeah, I mean, there's times, I've flown private more this year than I ever have, just because I'm trying to get those days back. And, but yeah, there's a lot of times I'm just in this plane all by myself, just because I'm trying to maximize my time with the family and getting home late and all that. So a lot of it's by myself. Caitlin and the kids, they don't get to come too much anymore, with all that they're into.
And then Dom, you wanted to ask him about the future.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at like your resume and your accomplishments outside of a national open, I mean, what is there left for you to accomplish, not only in sprint cars, but in your line of work now? And then what's next for you? Like, do you have a game plan?
Um, not really. I don't really have like a game plan. Yeah, I mean, as far as big races, you're right. Like National Open, I ran second to Donnie in 2021, maybe. That's maybe the only time I've gotten to run in that race. And then yeah, Daytona 500 would be a cool one to win. But then I think a lot of the fun stuff kind of happens when you're done full-time racing. I think, yeah, I look at guys like Jimmy Johnson or Dario Franchitti, Tony Kanaan, name anybody, Jeff Gordon even, like they go do fun stuff in like sports cars or whatever it may be. And I'm not saying that's something I'll do, but I just feel like that's what those guys did. So the avenue's there. But yeah, I mean, like do 24-hour Le Mans just to compete in that would be really cool. I want to do the Rolex 24-hour at Daytona again. It's been a decade since I've done it. But yeah, I mean,
You
I
got to
don't
win
know.
that 2 more times so each kid gets a watch.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. But I don't know. I don't really think about the future a whole lot. I mean, I've said in other interviews, yeah, I can see myself racing in NASCAR until I'm 40. I'm 30. I'll be 34 this coming year. It could go longer than 40. I don't really know. But I think 40 is like the next milestone for me to get to. So I would say, until then, it probably is going to look pretty similar. My schedule each year is probably going to look pretty similar. And then after that, kind of reevaluate because, Owen, and I think a lot of it probably revolves around what your kids are into, right? Like, I don't know how old your kids are, Sam, but I know Dom, yours are pretty young. But I look at when I'm 40, Owen will be like 18. So hopefully I'm following him around, watching him race, high limits as they call it, and yeah, Audrey will be racing, and who knows what Cooper will be into.
So,
So
does anyone have any more questions before I go into talking shit? Because he didn't do a good enough talking shit.
No, so okay,
yeah, no,
okay.
I'm trying to think of it. I'll tag along.
More
to your guys'
questions.
I got
more
talking,
questions.
maybe.
I got some stuff for you to go with.
But I do want to go with this now. Like, we got high limit outlaws, and then like initially this wasn't gonna be like a versus type thing, right? Or never meant to be supposedly. But like, I mean, we can face the facts. Like it kind of is, right? Like it's from a fan standpoint, mainly fans. Like I feel like drivers maybe have a little bit of, I don't know, like if you're an outlaw guy, you want to beat the high limit guys. If you're the high limit guys, you want to beat the outlaw guys. I think that's there. But like, do you guys see it that way? Is it like a versus deal? Or are you guys kind of doing your own thing? Or you're on your own wavelength? If Brad has these ideas you talk about, like, is it like one of those things where you guys are just doing what you see fit to make it better for racing?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good and fair question. I think both series probably focus on themselves more than people probably think. Like I think you have to run a company or business, you have to like stay in your lane and focus on what path you guys are on. But yeah, I mean but yeah, I mean I would say yeah, there's competition for sure between both series, and I think that's pretty apparent and obvious, and I think without that competition, the sport wouldn't have progressed as quickly as it has, and I think that's something. Although in the beginning fans and teams disliked, I think we can probably sit here right now and appreciate it. I think the purses are larger. There's more traveling teams out there. Both series have a traveling safety team. Dirt Vision's stepping up, Flow's stepping up. Like everybody's, and even outside of sprint cars, I would say even late models have now, even stepped up even more. So, yeah, it was a bit sticky at first, but I think with the competition, the sport has become, better from it. So, yeah, we'll see where things go and how they continue to progress. But I would say, and I mean, you guys don't follow a tour, so I don't know how you feel, but um, I think it's been better. Like I think the sport's in a better place
It's
with y'all.
100% better. 100%. I don't think either side, like,
Yeah.
I got bashed on Daryl released something, but I got bashed on saying that I don't feel like, you know, um, I don't even remember what it exactly was about, Daryl, but basically I got bashed on a lot of things from people, you know, saying that high limit doesn't have an effect and the outlaws don't have an effect, because I feel like the crowds are still good on both sides. I feel like you guys are both, like, from a high limit standpoint and an outlaw standpoint. Yeah, I mean, we've impacted each other, but like across the board, I think the popularity of the sport is higher than it's ever been. I feel like there's room for two. Like, I feel like there's definitely room for that. And I think the biggest thing I'm grateful for as a racer is, you know, the opportunity to race for this kind of money this many times per year. I think it would not have happened without high limit, and you know that's something that every racer, and I mean for this point, every fan should be lucky to have that, you know, in their situation, because I mean there's fans in Texas that haven't seen 410 sprint cars maybe 2 times a year. Now they get to see them several times a year. So
Yeah.
hats off to
And
you
we see
guys
it too. I mean,
for
the
doing
the
it.
crowds have gotten bigger, you know, at our Texas races. Like year over year, they've gotten quite a bit bigger. So I think it's going to continue that way. You know, I think you just got to get the cars into those regions. And I think with 2 national tours, that's, you know, scheduling races has become tougher, but it's also taking us to different racetracks that, you know, both series have probably never been to, which is good.
Right.
I'll tell you what blows me away is like I've been to outlaw races and high limit races in the last few years with sold out crowds and with fucking 2 people in the stands. Like I forget what outlaw race it was out here. It was at Bakersfield. There was like 5 people in the stands. A bomb could have gone off and everyone would have walked away fine. And then I think of, yes, and then I think of where did high limit go
And they're probably going to go back there, huh?
after Florida? Oh, I'm sure they will. Where else is
Yep.
going to take them?
Yeah, they have to.
Where did High Limit go after East Bay? It was a
That late model
Wait,
track
oh,
where they raced
Golden
off
Isles.
from there.
Golden
Golden
Isles.
Isles. Dude, I remember thinking like the midday or the middle of the events, because we raced on a Thursday and a Saturday. Friday rained out with the late models, and I remember telling the guys, we were at the bar, and I was like, "There's no fucking chance that we're racing on Saturday." There was 6 people in the grandstands on Thursday night. Like they're canceling this, and they raced it, and again, like a bomb could have gone off and nobody was in there. So I really think it's more about the when and the where than anything. I think our fans are up ridiculous amounts. I wish we could see some schematics of it, but I think total dirt track fans is fucking major growth. But it's just knowing when to go to places for scheduling and where to go for scheduling. Like I think the South is an untapped market, but that was a perfect example. It didn't work. So I think the Outlaws coming to California after High Limit leaving is bad for them. And
Yeah.
it's kind of it's a tough and very strategic thing to do to build a schedule like that. And I think with Brad having a hand in High Limit, like I just got back from Disneyland with John Hager, and John's obviously heavily involved in the NARC thing now, and like we talked a bunch about it. And it's really how we build a schedule for NARC that is going to work with High Limit and the Outlaws all coming out here, and it all has to jive. And you can't blow these fans out with 3 or 4 races in a row anymore because the cost of living is so high. And it's not a dumb thing. Building a schedule is a very intricate, specialized thing anymore, and I think the fans don't realize that there's a lot of thought that has to go into it, and there's a lot of different moving parts that have to work for a schedule to
A lot
work.
of politics too. I mean,
Yeah.
you see with Brad and Ark in the West Coast or Wisconsin region, like it's hard, it's hard to get in. It's hard to tap into some regions for sure. But yeah, that's what, I feel like our schedule is really shaped up to be good and exciting and kind of following a path where hopefully there'll be a lot of fans at the majority of them. I'm sure there's still going to be a few that are losses, but yeah, building schedules is tough, especially, yeah, I would say trying to, work with another series out there too is difficult.
I brought this up to Brad a few months ago, but I really feel like the last endeavor for High Limit would be a World Series reboot, like a High Limit Down Under, not just Perth, like a nationwide thing, a 15 race schedule. I think you guys would absolutely kill it.
Yeah, that would be sick. It'd be really cool if we could somehow, yeah, get, some sort of series with all the Australians and Americans, whatever. However that works, I wouldn't really know. But yeah, it'd be awesome because there's some really, really good drivers down there that don't get the chance to compete in a points, series with us.
Yeah.
Right.
So before we talk shit, go JJ.
Well, and there's guys that are. Go ahead. Well, there's guys that are so badass over there that then come over here and they don't get a show out for whatever reason, opportunity, cars being different and stuff. And it's like, I don't really feel like they get a fair shake. And like, then you watch them over there and they're lights out most of the time. It's like that Callum Williamson's one of the guys I think of. Like every time I see him over there, he's badass and like came over here and struggled. And it's like, it's fun to see our good guys go over there and race against them.
Every time I go to Australia,
at their home, and
I'm like,
it's a lot more equal.
Who was that guy that just blew my doors off? Like, I've never heard that person's name before. So yeah, no, they're really, really good, and yeah, I don't know what it is. I'm sure there's a lot of factors in why most of them seem to struggle when they come here, but I would assume it's wings, tires, especially tires probably, but even probably equipment's not quite as the cars that they're getting in here, just opportunities. They're not, quality.
Yeah.
Probably what everybody's stuff seems to be in Australia these days.
So is that everything everyone has for him before we do some talking shit?
Yep.
I've got one I think you'll go with, and I think there's one you'll answer off camera, but you probably won't want us to do on camera. My first one is, I grate my teeth anytime I hear people say you are not a good restrictor plate racer in NASCAR. And my reason for this is the year you almost won the Daytona 500. I think the Daytona 500's turned into such a crapshoot. It's made the winner non-memorable. And I think as a result, people don't remember the actual Daytona 500s. And I think your Daytona 500 that you ran, the year you ran out of fuel on the last lap, was the best individual performance I've seen at a restrictor plate track in my life. Now, I know JJ, Dom, and Sam have no idea what I'm talking about. But basically what happened is that...
Other than I just ran out of fuel, so...
Well, I'll talk you through it, and I think you'll be able to expand on this.
Yeah, the only fucking guy that breaks down races like this. Go ahead, Daryl.
No. Everybody was in a line around the top, and all the announcers were talking about how it's all going to come down to the last lap. It was a year no one could pass, and there was like a line of five or six cars. There was a line of 5 or 6 cars, and you were in like 6th. And you figured out this pass in 3 and 4 where you would leave everybody. You know exactly what I'm talking about now.
Yeah,
you would go down on your own,
like
and you had nobody with you, and you literally did it 3 or 4 times to take the lead. And I sit here and people
on TV. I would say it looks cool on TV, but I ran out of fuel. They were all saving fuel.
No, but my thing is like I'm sick of like pavement.
Yeah,
in
Daryl.
Pavement though.
Yeah, you
in
look like an
Pavement
idiot
though.
now, don't
No.
you?
No, and I'm going to make my point. In Pavement, it is so hard to tell moments where people have talent versus in dirt. And in that moment, I am sitting there watching you make a move that is no one has made all day. And you're doing it to get the lead. And I don't care what anyone says. If you listen to the announcers that day, they said you had to be leading on the last lap. And there you are, leading coming out of 2. You'd put yourself in a position in a way that no one had passed all day. And I just... in a world where it's so hard to see someone having talent, it just blows my mind that when someone shows you talent, they don't recognize it. And I just wonder what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I follow what you're saying for sure. But yeah, that one, yeah, I mean, I remember being in line and making the move. I'm like, man, I've found something that they haven't found. Not really, but But yeah, then when you run out of fuel, you're like, well, that's why they were not, fighting it too hard. So, um, but no, I mean, yeah, it is tough. It is tough in pavement a lot of times, most times, to tell when somebody's got talent, when somebody's doing a good job, whatever the case may be. But yeah, there's those rare times I think stand out for people for sure.
So that's kind of my thing, and I've said this on a past pod. Do you think the wrong, like people always say the wrong, like, yeah, there was some good people get to NASCAR, but there's so many ride buyers. Do you think it's very hard to identify who should come up on pavement?
Who should come up on, like,
Like
are
a
you
guy's
talking?
winning, like a guy's winning on pavement, and you don't know, is it him or is it the team or?
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Like in the
and
trucks,
I'm
you're
biased
saying?
obviously because I come from dirt where it's much easier to see talent and whatnot, but it's so hard for me. Like I don't really hold an opinion on people or pavement drivers until they make it to Cup, and then that's when I'm like, okay, they're good, or yeah, they were just in a good car, in Xfinity or trucks. So yeah, it's so equipment and setup based. Like even a guy like Corey Heim, he's won so many races and just wipes up the competition nonstop. It's like, man, I think you're really good, but I don't know how good you are because we're running pavement, and I know because I've been in phenomenal race cars that are stupid fast. Where I'm like, man, that was easy. Um, so is it the truck, or is it you, or whatever? So I'm excited when he gets, to run some cup stuff, because you're gonna, and hopefully, he is as good as he seems. But I'm just using him as an example. But there's times when guys win multiple Xfinity races in a year for Gibbs, and they look good and they're probably confident, and then they go to Cup, and it's tough because I'll say this, like, the Cup Series doesn't get the credit that I believe it deserves. It is so tough. Like, there is extremely great race car drivers in Cup. When you think about all the data that we get to look at, and look at each other's data and just measure ourselves off of each other and see what they're doing and how they're driving, like, you learn and you become so much better yourself that, like, I feel like everybody in Cup, even the buy ride guys, are really good. So, and there's not, and I'll say this too, there's not as many buy ride guys as what I feel like everybody thinks that there is. So it's just, there's 40 seats and there's 12 good ones. Like, and there's thousands and thousands of racers in the world. Like, it's hard. It's really hard to make it to the Cup Series.
Kyle's not going to talk that much shit about it, so I will. Yes, Kyle's the best racer of our generation. I don't know about all time. I honestly think the guy that, like, a lot of people want to say AJ Foyt, but I honestly think the guy that doesn't get appreciated enough is Mario Andretti.
Yeah.
I mean, people always sit there, like, the big line for, like, Kyle when he was doing the Indy 500 was like, oh, in Formula One guys, they come and win the Indy 500. Well, like, Mario Andretti did go to F1. Like, Mario Andretti won dirt sprint car races and won the fucking Formula One title. And in terms of resume, I actually think he wins. But in terms of, like, people I've seen in my time, I don't know how Kyle stacks up to AJ Foyt. Like, AJ Foyt taking a friggin' front engine car to Milwaukee and almost winning against all the rear engine cars is absolutely insane. I feel like Kyle could do that, but I don't know. But I think it's almost unquestionable, especially for who we've seen race, that Kyle is the best that we'll see. What do you guys think with him sitting there embarrassed watching us?
Jonathan Davenport's pretty good.
Well, one of the common arguments was, well, what about SVG?
Yeah.
And I've read you saying some incredible things about your time road course racing with him. But I will kindly remind people that SVG also went sprint car racing and was not nearly on Kyle Larson's level, although I still think it's badass that he did it.
I mean, I think he would figure it out
awesome.
for sure. I would say out of the guys that I've now gotten to race with, he's probably the best all-around driver by far that I've raced with. Like, his car control, and he's crazy.
your interviews with him after the race are like, I've never heard you sound that way. You're like, basically, we're never gonna beat him unless something changes. Like, to hear you say that about anything was just. I remember watching that, just like, holy cow, man, that guy.
What did you
It's
see in that
impressive.
battle with Shane that just blew you away so much?
Which one?
There was one where you talked about something like you had a long battle with him, and you said like those were the best laps
it
you've
was the
seen.
street
from
race.
him.
The
Chicago?
nation.
Yes.
Well, I mean, not necessarily on that one, but because it's fun and annoying racing with him because he's so good, and he's literally he's just having fun with you. Like, he's just toying around, with you out there, and like, you'll be driving your ass off, sliding all around, missing corners, and he just cruises by you and like gives a thumbs up or whatever. But no, there's just been moves. There's just been moves that we've all seen now. The first time he ran at Chicago and like made that move on Justin Haley and crossed him over in the brake zone, like things like that. I was like, man, I've never seen that before, but that's because I didn't grow up doing that, and I didn't focus on road course racing, the moves those guys were making. But man, it's sick. Like, it's really cool. And he has changed, kind of how none of us can do anything that he's trying to do, or that he is doing, but he's freaking incredible.
I'm sure you guys are also analyzing the shit out of his data too.
What he does with his
Yeah,
feet
and I
is
think
crazy.
I want to say, I feel like the feet thing is just like, I don't think that's as big of a deal as what everybody makes it out to be. But I'm sure it helps, and I'm sure there's things that, add up that make him unbelievable compared to us.
Right.
But yeah, we all look at his data, and I mean, I don't know. Can't
Honestly,
do it.
how fucking cool would it be for a real life Cars 2?
That's how we feel with you all the time.
What'd you say, Dom?
I said,
For the record,
how
like-
cool would it be for a real life Cars 2? You take the best drivers off every genre. You run like a 5-circuit series. You run like sprint cars at Eldora. You run, F1 cars at Monza. You run NASCARs at Homestead, Miami. You run like 6 or 7 different genres of motorsport with like the top 10 guys. That would be fucking unbelievable to watch. All these different guys. Because, like, I think of Brody Kostecki, my buddy who runs the V8 supercars in Australia. He's badass. He's super good. He's raced sprint car stuff. But, like, where does he match up with SVG? Where does he match up with you guys? Like, the world will never know. And that's something that, to me, is, like, really a pipe dream. Like, seeing all the best guys race different genres every fucking week.
They've tried doing something along those lines.
Yeah, I was
They
gonna
have
ask
that
you,
race
Daryl.
of champions.
It was
Yeah.
it was cool.
Like Jimmy Johnson would
cool.
run it, Paul Tracy, couple
They
guys.
do it. They still do it every year.
They still do?
Michael
Bush.
Michael Schumacher.
I thought we were talking about the same thing, but race of champions. It's just, it never works out where I can go because it's always like right at the beginning of the NASCAR season.
That's the one at Chili Bowl, right?
Huh?
That's the one at Chili Bowl, the Race of Champions.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
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 Yeah, let's not get started on.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last time we talked about that, the
Yeah.
pay tripled.
That used to be mine and Sam's way to try to make the Chili Bowl.
So we had one. There was one where I was going to, because like a guy just asked me to do a podcast this week. I got all dialed in to do it with them. And then he's like, so we require a $25 donation. And then I'm like, are you like, absolutely not. That's insane.
Kyle
to me,
paid.
like, just based
Kyle
on
paid
principle.
$1,000 to be on here.
Hey, yeah, so I sent this to the guys. I'm like, so my question about all this is like, what are we charging Kyle? but no, dude. So Dom was saying he sat down with a dude, like was all dialed in to do it, and they like tried to ask him for money after you
showed up
like,
and they
that's
fucking wanted to
insane,
charge
dude.
me.
Like
And
you
I'm
already
like,
donate your.
I'm not a big name.
You're willing to give your
I'm
time.
not fucking paying for anything.
Okay, I got my shit
No,
talking.
like,
I got
that's
my
crazy.
shit talking. Kyle, you don't have to touch this if you don't want to.
My shit
Okay.
talking is, why the fuck do you act like you like tequila when you only drink Clase Azul? That's
Me?
some bullshit.
Okay.
Yeah, you
Clase Azul.
motherfucker.
Here
Oh,
comes
I
some.
don't even, I don't even drink anymore. That much.
What?
Okay,
No,
None?
I don't.
okay. Here's some shit talking, and like I say, Kyle, you can stay out of this if you want.
Yeah, me neither.
Okay, so I got
Yeah, Dom's 3/4 of a bottle in tonight.
a shit talking segment I was actually going to roll with this last week, and then we didn't end up recording a pod. I'm also way less angry than I was. Recently, Brian Carter did an interview where he basically said that every rule you're going to implement is always going to raise the cost of racing. So basically said he didn't really care when they implement rules about the cost of racing. And then Mike Hefner went on a rant on Facebook that got a lot of people in the industry reacting to, where he basically said, quit whining about the rising cost of racing. And I get it in principle, but holy fuck do I got a lot of problems with that. So I don't think there's a person that's gotten into racing that doesn't understand that racing is fucking expensive. But I think you also have to be realistic and look at things. And first of all, it scares the shit out of me that, like, Hefner is or was a track promoter. I don't know if he currently still is. Carter is a series promoter. It scares the shit out of me that people promoting the sport have that attitude. Like, there is so, like, whenever I hear someone say, oh, rules add to the cost of racing, get fucked. The weight rule did not add to the cost of racing. Tracks that go to one right rear tire a night do not add to the cost of racing. There are so many fucking rules that don't add to the cost of racing. To act like it's some impossibility or it's not something to be considered, and to hear people in high places saying that is really fucking depressing to me. Like, okay, racing's expensive. Okay, I bought a 360 in 2015. You could win a race on a $30,000 motor in a 360, no problem anywhere, correct? 5 years later, it's retarded. So it's not even just that costs have gone up. People aren't recognizing how quick the costs are going up. This wasn't like some easy, slow, natural progression. This was a fucking insanely quick rise in costs. And when I hear people, like, that scares the fuck out of me. When I hear people making decisions for our sport, not even factoring that in, and I think they need to give their heads a fucking shake. Kyle, you don't have to touch that if you don't want to. JJ, Dom, Sam, I don't know if you have anything to add, but get your shit together if that's really your attitude and you're making decisions for the future of our fucking sport.
Yep.
Sam's muted.
Sam, you're muted.
Jackson's gone.
I'm pretty sure they only make rules on whatever Paul Silva comes up with anyways, so.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You said, like, I don't see what he's going to do to change a rule anyway. Like, to be honest, like, and I'm not picking on him. I'm just saying, like, I don't think I'm not saying he's not in the position to do that, but he's not the kind of guy going to make these decisions going forward. So, like, I honestly wouldn't hold any weight with that. Like, not saying he's not important to them, but I'm just saying, like, from that standpoint, I don't know. He's not impacting that because he's not worrying about that shit. Like, to be honest, like, that's not what he's worrying about, to me. I mean, I know maybe I mean, obviously he said what he said, like, you can't go back on that, but I don't think he's involved enough to make major decisions on rules that we're going, like, I don't know, like,
I do think it is his job to ask what are the ramifications of the sport for this rule. I do think that's 100% his job.
Well, I mean, we could go on and on about a lot of fucking rules that are stupid and, probably be here all night long, but, I mean, it kind of is what it is.
I'm somewhat okay with, like, all right, rules are going to cost more if we're going to open the tire rule up. Give us some options. I mean,
there's so many things.
Dude, these fucking tires are so bad. Like, give us some different options that are comparable to one another. That way we can race, like, different guys can be successful. I genuinely feel like Donnie Schatz, half of his problems are because he can't race this tire. And you're not going to teach an old dog new tricks.
Well, I think Brad basically alluded to that on his interview with Dirt Tracker. Shout out to Dirt Tracker that there is a change coming. I think it's cat's out of the bag. There was a test. I think they tested a bunch of tires, and basically there was the conclusion that there was a tire that fixes a lot of today's problems.
Yeah.
So hopefully that comes along. And then the other thing he implied that was that American Racer seems to be looking at getting back into the sport more in North America, which I don't think would be a bad thing at all. But hopefully that happens, but I just don't see it happening quickly. I can see it in a couple of years.
Hey, thanks for doing this, Kyle. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you for doing this,
thank
Kyle.
you.
I know you bugged us for a while. I know we're like your favorite show, so I'm
Thank
glad.
you for
Thanks, it was
everything
fun.
you're doing for sprint car racing, man.
Yeah, thanks
I
a lot.
appreciate
It's
it.
huge
Thank
for
you.
everybody.
Good. Yeah, thanks. No, it's cool.